Welcome, everyone. We're back again with the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts. I'm author of It's Deeper Than That and the founder of The Great Reconnection. And I am thrilled and honored for all of you to get to listen in on this conversation with James A. White. He is one of the most amazing human beings I know, and I'm so excited for you to get to hear him today. So thank you for being here.
All right, great. And I thank you for the invitation. And I'm always open and receptive to whatever kind of an interaction or engagement that you want to be a part of, because through our interaction, we've been able to do some really interesting things. And the other part of it is I walk away with so much from you. I love your wisdom.
Listeners, just so you know, James and I used to meet, I think it must be 11 or 12 years ago now.
Wow, was that
Yeah.
amazing?
For coffee and talk about race.
Right.
We would ask each other questions people don't typically ask each other across race and across gender. And one day I said to Jim, what if people could listen to us talk? Then the scary thing about talking about race could be reduced. And if we can't talk about race, we can't solve it. So we did about 3.5 years of community conversations and in organizations and institutions and schools, this thing called Safe Conversation About Race. So that's how we've spent a lot of our time dialoguing.
Yeah. And it was always wonderful in results, always.
Yeah, because we had very diverse audiences who then started talking with, after we shared and dialogued and gave history and stuff, we gave them exercises. So across race, they were having conversations, and it changed people's lives in ways that typical trainings that you tick off the box don't do. This became a real engaging process. One of the things I wanted to ask you, because when I asked you, what is it that you want to leave our listeners? Let's start there. And let's talk about why that's meaningful to you now at this point in your life.
I said because when I think about myself, I was a high school dropout. I am dyslexic. I was not the one to most likely succeed academically. Now, basketball, yeah, but don't give that boy a book. I wasn't the guy. And here I am now, just turned 84, Sunday. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And I've accumulated all of this information and knowledge. I teach like 20 different 8-hour training programs. And then out of those things, I can then I have created other programs that allow people to be able to find what it is that they're looking for. And so my thought is, since God has given me this, or Yahweh or Buddha or whoever you believe in, has given me this knowledge, then I have a responsibility to share it. I have a responsibility to give it to every person that I can possibly share it with, especially young people. And so that's my motivation. And it wakes me up every single day. I watch what's going on globally, and I just say, I wonder, oh my goodness, what people are going through and how blessed I am to be here, to be safe, and my family is safe. So the only thing that I can do is to contribute. And I think that that's what I know that that's what I should be doing. I'm hoping that other people kind of like even feel the same.
And what brought you to develop trainings? What was your trajectory of dropping out of high school, and then did you go into the military and then
Yeah.
basketball, and then talk about your evolution that got you where you are today?
Well, basketball did play a really critical role because everywhere I went, because of me, I think one of the reasons why I had a successful school experience is because I played sports. And if you played sports in the town that I grew up in, Sharon, Pennsylvania, you were the king or the queen. I mean, that was it. So it allowed me to get through school, my teachers understanding, because they didn't know what dyslexia was at the time. I was just a very, very slow reader, had good comprehension. And then when I dropped out of school, in the 11th grade and went into the military. My girlfriend and I got pregnant and got married, and I went into the military and again played basketball and was able to be very successful there. Also, the military offered all kinds of training, so I took those trainings. And I always wanted to go to college. And the military kept promising, yeah, Jim, we'll let you go to college. We'll let you go to college. And they didn't do it the second time I re-enlisted. So I vowed that once that 4 years was up, which meant a total of 8 years, I was going to go to school. And so I got a basketball scholarship at Capital University here in Columbus, Ohio. And so I played ball and I worked, went to school. And even after that, I continued to play ball. But I went into the military. I went into private sector. And in the private sector, I was able to utilize the skills that I had picked up, from college and also from the service. And then the corporate offered me. I wanted to be a sales manager, and so I went through. I was at Xerox for 10 years. I was at Wang Laboratories for 3 years, and then I was at Digital Equipment for 3 years. And in all of those, playing sports and also picking up more and more information. But my last tour with digital, I was able to do training for the last 4 years. I trained throughout the United States. I trained outside of the country. And then when they got bought out by Compaq, that said for me, I love training more than I love sales.
And what
And so
kind of
therefore,
trainings were you doing though, Jim?
and in the corporations, I was doing sales training. I did social styles. I did communications. I had an opportunity to work at the Xerox International Training and Development Center for about 2 years. And there, what I did, all of the new employees coming in, the new sales reps and sales managers. They sent them down to Leesburg, Virginia, where we trained them. We would have them for 3 solid weeks. We would have them from early in the morning until late at night. And with those young people came in and they were going for it. And, that really hooked me because I was then able to provide them with information and data that they could utilize so that they could achieve their successes when they were out there in the field. Some were in sales,
Mm.
some were in service, some were in administration. And I think that was the hook. And when these companies got bought out one after another, I said, shoot, I'm not going to stop now. And I called my kids. I said, hey, I'm getting ready to step out on the wild side and start my own company, but keep a place in the basement just in case. I might have to make a strategic retreat. And you can believe that was 33 years ago.
Wow.
33 years. And I didn't know what I was doing in terms of starting the business. I just dove in, start doing things. Sometimes I asked God, I said, okay, what did I do? Can you go back and give me my old job? But in every case, it worked and it kept working. And here I am today, having accumulated all this information. And my daughter joined me 25 years ago. And so she's been working with me now for 25 years. And that was a blessing because she did all the administrative stuff
Yes.
and then she helped do the training designs and then she's the direct opposite of me. So I'm this expressive guy and she's more analytical, amiable. And so we were the direct opposites, but we utilized that as a compliment. And it allowed me to see things more from an analytical perspective. And also, it helped her to understand how to design programs that will allow me to bring my best to whomever I was sharing the data and sharing the information with. And we have been in every kind of place imaginable from banks, insurance companies. I've been in 50 school districts throughout the United States of America. And when I was in the school districts that I worked with the teachers, I worked with the janitors, the bus drivers, and food service people. Because our thought then was that they're children that need something other than just the academic piece. And between the janitor, between the bus driver, between the food service, people could see what those children need. So sometimes they were able to build a safety net and prevent kids from slipping through the cracks because we were able to approach them in different kind of ways, or I shouldn't say different, in ways that made sense for them. And so those are the things we did there. So that's been it for me. And other thing I would say, I spent about 20 years up until Black Lives Matter training police officers. So I've trained police officers in the academy. I've been out on the road with them, Opata. So good stuff. And that was interesting. That was interesting working with officers. I think one of the reasons why I was able to train police officers is because in the military I was a police officer. No, and
Mm.
that's another diversity piece. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. At the time when I went into the military, we didn't know it, but the only three jobs, or the private three that they would let African Americans participate in, it was law enforcement, food service, and supply,
Oh, wow.
regardless to what your other academic capabilities were. Those were the prime. And now every now and then someone to some other areas, but those are the primary. So I didn't know that at the time, but I loved being a police officer. It was good. It was fun. I was young. You know, I was able to connect with people in meaningful kind of ways. And if I had to use little force, I was able to do that respectfully. So, it's been a good ride and I love it. And I love it. And I think I have information and data to share. And for young people, I tell young people when I meet them, if I can do anything for you, if you want any of my information, it's yours, free, no charge. Because that to me is the piece that we as a society should be doing. We should be developing our young people. Because if we develop them, then it's going to minimize all the hassles and the challenges that we're experiencing as a society today. So young people, they are our success. They are the future. And so I want to give as much as I can.
One of the things that I think would be important for our listeners to understand from you is what are the trainings that you would want to provide for
Mm,
these young people? What's the wisdom? Because we can train young people into anything. So,
okay.
what is specific your calling
Right.
around training them, and how do you want to see them develop?
Well, I think one that I'm going to have several, but one that I would think is so important, and that is one that I designed 37, 38 years ago, and it is empowerment. And I call it empowerment and productivity. What it did, it identified four behavior characteristics that we see people exhibit on jobs and then really in life. Victims, number one. Ain't never my fault. I'm in a state of blame. I'm waiting for somebody to fix me. And if you're waiting for me, if you give me a 20-minute assignment and gone for 40 minutes, when you get back, all I was saying is, I was waiting for you to come back because I didn't know what to do next. And that person will drain an organization and for themselves. People who are victim or have the victim mentality, one of the things that they do, they never have an opportunity to discover self because inside of them there are talents and information, but they weren't in an environment that allowed that to happen. The second piece in that level is a piece of what I call passive. And these are people who have knowledge, skills, talent, everything, and they've developed it, but they will only do exactly what they're told to do. And when they're told to go to the red line, boom, they stop at the red line. Even though I could have gone to the blue line, my boss didn't tell me to do that. Mama didn't tell me. They're always seeking permission. And the danger with that, if I play the game of the buffoon too long, I lose my self confidence. I lose my self respect. I lose those things that allow me to be able to move forward. And they never, ever are able to really achieve the goals that they would set because they're afraid to take a step. They want to be safe all the time. And I don't mean jump out and do crazy things, but sometimes you have to push the boundaries. You have to stretch the boundaries a little bit. And so that would be the number two. The third um, person in that group, what I call active. And active people are one who finally realize if it is to be, it's up to me. I start to take ownership for myself. I do what I need to do. And companies, they're that go-to person. They're the ones who get things done. You see, I don't know how they do it, but they just get it done. They're always there, and they're an asset to everyone. They are even willing to help the victim and the passive person, but they don't want nonsense. Don't come to me with nonsense. You really want to move forward? Let's do it. And let's move forward. And then finally, I have the person that I call highly active or accomplished. And those are
Say
the
that
ones who
again. Highly active
highly active or accomplished.
or accomplished.
Accomplished. Those are the ones who seem to be at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and people think it just happened. But the reason why it happened, they went through all those other steps. They set goals for themselves. They set priorities for themselves. They studied. They have a mission and a vision and a purpose, not only for the organization, but they have one for themselves. And they're really willing to work that. They're willing to step in. They're willing to do what needs to be done. They're willing to do some of the things that are on the fringe that other folks are just kind of like looking at and say, oh, should we do this? They don't do that frivolously. They stop, they think, they look at what's going on, and then they take that risk. But the risk is based upon good, solid data and good, solid information. So for me, if young people could just begin to understand where they are in those four levels and don't get stuck as the passive person and the victim person, because I call them a drain. Because what they always do, they're always taking, they're always pulling, they're always asking, but they're never contributing. And for young people to understand that even at their young age, you still have a contribution that you can make. And what you can do as a young person, you can be open and willing to ask people, how do you do this and how do you do that? So that would be probably be the fundamental one. The other one that's really hot is emotional intelligence. It's going on everywhere. Daniel Goleman put that together probably 20 some odd years ago. And the reason why I like it, I call that the window into your world because it's a window pane. It's four things. The upper left is self awareness. How aware are you of you? And with that, you not only need to do an introspective piece, but you need to collect information from other people. If you can get feedback or assessments that allow you to have that 360 feet, that allows you to open up and be open to ideas and asking for information about how well did I do this? Could I have done this differently? And watch other people. Watch other people. In that window, the second piece in that window is self-management. Once I understand me, can I manage me? Do I have that temper? Or do I have that thing where I withdraw, where I shut down, where instead of me speaking openly to people, I show these nonverbal looks and non that tells them to go to hell.
Yeah.
And they think I'm not saying it, but I really am saying it. And then after that, the other part in the window that I think is so powerful, and that is the whole thing around it's around being able to understand people from their perspective.
Mm.
Can I look at someone? Can I listen to them and hear what they're saying and say, yeah, that's good. But you're only thinking about it from your view. Can you allow yourself to walk around and put yourself, if at all possible, in their shoes and be able to say, it looks a little bit different here. And acknowledge that and be open and receptive to that whole piece. Then with that, understand the environment that you're in. And then last but not least, you take all of that stuff and bingo, we start working with people, either in leadership or conflict resolution. But and that's why to me, that single program is so extremely beneficial because first of all, it makes you look at yourself. And then if I don't have empathy, if I don't have that, how can I understand other people? Because the world wasn't made just for you. So that emotional intelligence and the definition that I use for it is, do you know how what you say, think, and do impacts other people? And empathy, you need empathy to understand that. Now, the other part of that is this. If I don't get the response from that person that I was looking for, what do I do? I could say, I'm okay, and I don't know what's wrong with them. So I get into a blame game. But that's not the name of the game. It should be, I'm okay. They are as equally okay as I am. So maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it was the way I presented the data, the information, the facts to that person. And my emotional intelligence then says, I have other ways that I can share my information with that individual. I can share it this way, that way. And then if I really run out of it, I still don't want to blame them. I ask them, say, can we talk? What would make sense for you? So it's such a human kind of an approach that we needed. And if people did that with each other, I mean, you get rid of the bickering and the blame, and I'm better. So emotional intelligence is powerful. And then from there, I could go on and on and on. You know me in training, conflict resolution, because you're going to run into conflict. I don't care who you are. How do you resolve conflict? And what we talk about is giving and receiving feedback is a part of the whole piece around conflict resolution. How do I give and receive feedback from people? And also in the conflict piece, we have people to not write down their definition for conflict, but we have them pick out of about 12 or 15 images. It could be images of a storm, it could be images of a boxing match, it could be images of a dance, but all these different images. And we say, pick 3 or 4 of those that would really define how you see conflict. And that once you've done it, you would be able to share that with other people so that they will understand you. Or if you're in a conflict situation, you say, okay, well, let's stop. Let's break this down. Let's see what's really going on. And what I do, I share mine. Mine is that since I was outside a lot with the military, storms. I've seen all kind of storms. I've seen storms that just open up and jump all kind of water on this. I've seen storms that just rumble but don't do anything. So what I know is that if there's a conflict, there's going to be some kind of storm. I also know that because I was out on the flight line. After the storm, the sky opens up because what it has dumped all the trash. It's gotten all, so it opens up. So the storm, and if we work through the storm, we can have a great sunrise. We can have a great opening where we can start to talk. Then I say, I know that you're still going to probably have a problem, so I'm going to build a bridge so that if this comes up again, or better yet, when it comes up again, if I'm on one side of the bridge and you're on the other, I can come over and share with you. You can come over and share with me. We could meet in the middle, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, I tell them the last part for me is something that I love doing, and that's dancing. And I ask people, I said, have you ever danced with somebody that has no rhythm? That's the worst experience in the world. But when you dance with someone that has rhythm and you're moving and you're talking and you're twirling and you're doing, it is just it's pure pleasure. So that that piece there, it is so important because people don't understand why they get into conflict. They don't know what it is. They don't understand that they have a button that when people push that button, boom, this pops up. And that's why it's so important for them to look at those models, and pick how they see conflict. And I tell them later on they can change it. Or if you have a team and you're going to work with someone, how did we want the team to deal with conflict when it surfaces? So that would be another one. So social styles, amiables, drivers, expressives, analyticals. We are all unique. We all have some good stuff. We all have some problems. And in order for amiables to be able to work with analyticals, they need to come to the middle because they drive each other crazy if they stay in their zone. And in order for drivers to work with amiables, no, excuse me, analyticals and expressives class, and then drivers and amiables, they class. Whew. So the final one I would say listening skills and the ability to listen to people. Because what we find and what they have found in doing their research, an effective listener can usually draw anywhere from 20 to 40% more information from a person just by the way you listen. Because if you listen in the right way, you're not interrupting. We have excuse me, terminology for all those different kind of things. But if you do that, the person will relax. If they relax, they get comfortable. If they get comfortable, they trust. When they trust, they just start sharing all kinds of data. And sometimes they'll do a discovery. This, oh, boy, I hadn't thought about that before. Yeah, because when he said this, or when she did that, or when I did this, blah 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 happened. So those would be probably the top ones that I would use. but I have a lot more.
Well, it sounds to me, and you can tell me if I'm listening well to you.
Okay.
First of all, that you see our youth and younger generation as our future, and
Absolutely.
that what you want for them is to fulfill on their potential, to activate that which is inside of them,
Mm,
and dream and fulfill the dream. Then you want to give them the skills how to become human
mm,
through
yes.
understanding their emotions, to how to manage it, also then how to become aware of another so we're not so self-centered, and
Yes.
that conflict can be generative, so it doesn't have to be the end of the game. And
Right.
that if you can find people that you can harmonize with, that so much can get created
Mm,
together, but you
mm,
need that's what I'm listening, that's what I'm imagining, and that's what I'm hearing. And that
yeah.
it I think that most of us think we're human when we're not being human.
Mm,
And we need
mm.
to take the time to
Amen.
actually become human, right? So
Amen.
we're going to have to begin to wind down for today, Jim.
Oh,
I
really?
know, yeah, the 30 minutes goes fast. We can have you back again, okay? It's just,
Well, let me throw one more thing in there.
yes,
Something you mentioned civility. Civility to me is that linchpin that holds that allows humanity to work. And there's no reason why we can't. Civil doesn't mean I gotta invite you to the baby shower or take you to the party. Civility just says, when I walk by you and you walk by me, sometimes the head nod, the hello, the smile, the hold the door, and do it meaningfully. And I,
yeah.
I think that is so many things are jumping in my mind.
We
Bless
can't
you.
let them all come out right now, Jim, because
Okay, all right, I'll wait, because
so, but I would
okay,
say that what
okay,
you're
yeah,
talking about is how can we just take a moment in the present and acknowledge one another and humanize
yes,
ourselves across the difference instead of divide us.
yes, yes.
What do you think, because a podcast is called Purpose for Life, what do you think the purpose for life is, Jim?
I think the purpose for life is just what I think that it is about giving and sharing. I think the reason why I live, the reason why I'm here, that I need to, take care of self, be the best me that I could possibly be, but not for my personal reason, but so that when I engage someone else, that connection takes place. And then when we engage someone, it helps. And then that to me, that why else is it here? When you look at a plant, plants grow and they give vegetables, but even when the vegetables are they're past their season, they die, they go back into the ground, they nourish the ground to do what? To allow it to happen over and over and over again. There's no other reason for us being here
Mm.
other than to be able to connect in harmony and respect with each other. And you said the linchpin there, regardless to your makeup. People talk about that. Everyone you come in contact is different. Your brother, sister, your twin is different than you.
Yeah,
And we need to give them those levels of respect and civility.
absolutely. And Jim, how can people get a hold of you?
My email is J White, the number two, at columbus.rr.com. White2 at columbus.rr.com.
And
That's the
what's the
best.
name of your business?
My company is called Performance Consulting Services.
Great.
Our mission is to assist individuals, groups, and organizations in identifying development tools that will allow them to empower themselves in their pursuit of performance excellence.
Nice.
That's what we do.
Awesome. Jim, thank you as always. I love
Yes,
being around you. You're just inspiring
yes.
and great. And I know our listeners are going to be thrilled listening to you here today and inspired to become better human beings because we can all grow.
That's it.
That's it.
And
Thank
thank you
you.
for the
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening in here today. Once again, this is the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm Suzanne Roberts, your host, author of It's Deeper Than That, and the founder of The Great Reconnection. Subscribe and keep listening. We love having you here. Thank you.